Hey everybody. Hey, I wanted to touch base with everybody with regards to some questions about current training with the adult team. I thought it'd be best to do it in this video format so that you could hear my voice, you could see my face, and you could play it maybe while you're driving around, so you're not stuck with a long email to look through. So, some questions that have come up with regards to the supplemental training that I've put out there to do that people can do in addition to what they're doing on the water in our 3 practices a week. Let's just first talk about not necessarily what it is, but like the actual specifics, but the fact that it is additional training. We have 5 days a week. As you get more and more fit, you might find that 3 days a week you got enough energy to maybe add in a 4th day or a 5th day. Probably, unless you're really high trained, you're probably not going to 6 days a week because we need rest and recovery. So I gave those additional supplemental sessions out there for people to be able to add to their training. It's part of an annualized training program. There's a lot of value in it, but let's be clear about it. It's not a requirement. The requirement is at some point I have to make a decision to invite somebody to our adult advanced group. That's going to be based on a certain amount of proficiency, a certain amount of mobility, a certain amount of capacity. And it's going to vary as the team grows. It could be more restrictive, or maybe it becomes even broader and we bring on more coaches. I don't really know yet, but that's something I have to kind of gauge. The supplemental work is designed to advance your fitness and your skills, but they're not required. Let me make that really clear. They're not required. They are supplemental. This is not like high school or collegiate rowing where athletes are signing up saying they have to be at practice. When a youth rower signs up, that's kind of an agreement between me/the club, if I were coaching youth, and the rower and the parent. And that way they know where the athlete's at. There's enough time and practice given there to be able to meet those needs. An adult rower is not the same way, and we don't have it structured that way. So participation in or completing these other workouts is not something that is required from the standpoint of being in the group. Now, and it's also not required that if you do it or do a certain number of those that automatically you're put into better boats. And let's talk about that. First of all, please remember, we're oriented towards a team points state championship. That means every boat at every level that I feel like has the capacity to race has the opportunity to pick up points that go towards the team. So you could have a situation in one race where we have a women's novice quad that goes out, and they're not the fastest boat that we have in the boathouse. However, they did race and maybe they got a silver medal, picked up 18 points, and at the end of the season, we got over on another team or maybe won the championship by 12 points. Well, we can point back and say they kind of contributed to it along with everybody else. So now, there will be boats, especially at some of these regattas where we can't get every member a race. There's going to be maybe a situation where you want to get into the top boat. Getting in the top boat is not about tenure, how long you've been in the club. It's not that you did the workouts. It's when you do the workouts, they might make you faster. They might make you have better capacity. They might make you a better boat mover. As we go through the season, we're going to have different ones of these tests and workouts that you'll, over the period of a year, you'll start to build this kind of resume portfolio, which will actually help you in understanding your strengths and weaknesses. That moves all the way from a 1 hour test down to a 5K, to a 2K, to a 1K, to a 1 minute test for max wattage and a peak power test. And you'll be able to get a feel of where your strengths are and your weaknesses and be able to work your weaknesses, much more effectively. So the workouts are designed for you. Think about it this way. An elementary school teacher maybe gives credit, meaning part of the grade of a third grade student doing math is actually doing the math homework, and maybe 10% or 20% of their grade is the actual completion of the work. They're trying to build habits, okay? But by the time you get to college, the professor is going to say, hey, you ought to go in and try these problems on page so-and-so to get you ready for the test. The only assessment is the test. They don't care if you do the homework or don't do the homework. So when you do supplemental workouts, I'm giving you them because they're part of an annualized training plan that I think develops the athlete the best based on schedules that we have in there. I don't want to have a situation where somebody's training 3 days a week, got more time, and would like to know what they need to do to work out. So I'm giving that. However, if your time is such that you can't do it, or you're injured or don't have access to equipment, and you can't do this workout, I'm not disappointed in you. I'm not going to check up on you. I love the fact that you guys often encourage each other when you do the workouts and say, I got it done. And if people celebrate their numbers, we're not all on the same path. We're not all as fit as each other. What we are is we're one team working towards one goal. We're encouraging each other along the process. Enjoy the process. Celebrate the process. Enjoy the incremental work. Okay, there's no shortcuts. You guys all know this. The people that go faster than us, they've been doing it a long time at a really high level. They've built capacity. They've built experience. There's no shortcut. We just get on the path. We're methodical. We just do the work. I just wanted to kind of lay that out for you guys, that there's not a situation where I'm upset, or you don't have a right to be as part of the advanced group. Or, I've got somebody who's out of town right now for 2 weeks. She may not be able to get the work done right now, and she's not off the team. Does it mean that at some point down the road, her inability to come to practice has been a situation where she's dropped back a little bit, and then somebody else has advanced during that time and taken that seat? Yes, that could happen. It doesn't mean that it's a penalty. Doesn't mean that I'm looking to penalize the person for coming to practice. It's just a natural function of time on task, or lack of time on task. And so just kind of keep that in mind. My goal is to get at people as many races as possible, to go to races that I feel we're prepared for. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I know for many of you, this may be your first foray, or maybe you're comparing it to when you were in high school and that situation. This is not quite the same situation. I have to honor the spirit of competition. The spirit of competition says we put our best foot forward when we race, and the coaches put their best foot forward to put together the most competitive boats. And for us, that could be within a race, but I'm also keeping mindful that my ultimate goal is maximum team points. So that means we got to travel two things at the same time: high degrees of participation and high degrees of excellence. And I can't ask you to do better than your best. So please, I encourage you to try to get the work in. You will definitely have fruits of that come down the road, where you're actually going to have better capacity. But again, injury, lifestyle, kids, work, all that kind of stuff, that's what adult rowing has to deal with, and I'm completely down with that. So please don't feel any high degree of stress in getting the work done. If you can't do it, or you have to modify it somewhat, it is what it is. We'll do the best that we can, and we'll keep pressing on, and you'll keep coming to practice, and you'll train when you can. And if you can get this extra work in, great. I'm going to keep recruiting. I'm going to keep coaching you guys, and we're going to move towards this long-term goal. Hopefully that helps. All right. Thank you very much. Please call me, text me if you have any questions. I'm here to talk to you. Thank you.